I want to tell you a story about courage in the face of impossible odds. In a lush forest, where sunlight dappled the forest floor, a pregnant deer lived peacefully. Her days were filled with gentle grazing and quiet contemplation, her belly swollen with the promise of new life. But as the time for her to give birth drew near, she felt an urgent primal need for water. The river called to her, its song a siren's call she couldn't ignore. With each careful step towards the water, the forest seemed to change around her. The journey, once routine, now felt treacherous. Shadows lengthened, leaves rustled with unseen threats. In every shadow, behind every tree, danger lurked, unseen, but ever present. The deer's ears twitched nervously, her large brown eyes scanning for danger. And danger, it seemed, was everywhere. Among the forest's many predators, a lion moved with deadly grace, drawn by the scent of vulnerable prey. At the water's edge, another threat waited patiently, hidden beneath the surface. At last, the deer reached the water, her thirst momentarily overcoming her fear. From behind a gnarled oak, a hunter emerged, his bow at the ready. His eyes narrowed as he took aim, seeing only a target, not the miracle of impending birth. The deer froze, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. In this moment, she stood at the crossroads of life and death, both for herself and her unborn fawns. But the hunter wasn't her only worry. A twig snapped to her left and she turned to see a flash of tawny fur. A hungry lion, drawn by the scent of vulnerability, stalked her from the shadows. Its muscles rippled beneath its coat as it prepared to pounce. The deer's legs trembled, but she knew she couldn't give up. Her unborn fawns depended on her survival. With a burst of speed, she darted towards the river, her only hope of escape. But as she approached the water's edge, her heart sank. In the river ahead, cold-eyed crocodiles waited, still as logs but deadly as any predator. Their scales glinted in the fading light, jaws ready to snap shut on unwary prey. The deer's breath came in ragged gasps. How could she possibly survive? Hunter behind, lion to the side, crocodiles ahead. It seemed there was no way out. But then in a flash of blinding light, everything changed. The sky split open with a deafening crack, and lightning struck the forest floor. The bolt hit a tree near the hunter, sending him sprawling to the ground, his bow flying from his grasp. The lion, startled by the sudden flash and boom, let out a roar of confusion and retreated into the undergrowth. Even the crocodiles, usually impassive, slipped beneath the water's surface in alarm. In that moment of chaos when all of nature seemed to hold its breath, the deer saw her chance. With a grace that belied her condition, she gathered herself and leapt. Time seemed to slow as she soared over the river just beyond the reach of snapping jaws. Her hooves touched down on the far bank, and she was running to safety. Only when she could no longer hear the rush of the river did she slow, her sides heaving with exertion, and there in a soft bed of moss beneath a protective canopy of leaves, she finally rested. As the last light of day filtered through the trees, a miracle unfolded. With gentle grunts and determined pushes, the deer brought new life into the world. One by one, 3 beautiful fawns took their first breaths, their spindly legs wobbling as they tried to stand. The new mother gazed at her babies with eyes full of love and pride. She had faced impossible odds, stared death in the face, and emerged victorious. As she nuzzled her newborns, their soft fur against her muzzle, she knew that courage and hope had carried her through. And in the peace of the forest night, under a sky now sparkling with stars, life continued its eternal cycle. For in nature, as in life, it's not the strongest who survive but those who never give up hope.